Hey everyone, let's make sure you can see me and you can hear me. All right, it is Wednesday at 4, right on the dot. Can't believe I'm on time today. Oh, you guys, it's 4 o'clock. I've been on Zoom since 10 and I will be here until 9 tonight. And I'm very excited about it. It's all about mindset, right? Okay. Let's see if anyone pops on here. If nobody pops on, I am just going to be talking to myself. And then you can watch it later. I know it's not always the best time. Um, I wanted to talk about boundaries today. So we often we talk about setting boundaries in our lives, right? We set boundaries with other people and boundaries around us and what we'll say or do. And then people are terrible at following our boundaries, so we think our boundaries aren't working. And it's because we're doing it wrong. Okay? To and about a boundary is something that you set for you with love and love for the other person, right? A boundary is something that you decide that you will do, that you put up a boundary, and then you decide what is the consequence if this thing happens. Okay? You have to have consequences, right? So the first thing is you set a boundary. And you can either tell a person your boundary or not tell a person your boundary. Like most of us have boundaries where if we are walking around in public and somebody hits us, we're going to call the police or we're going to, we're going to do something. And so we set a clear boundary, but we don't tell everyone about it, right? We just know that that's our boundary. Like people don't hit us. And if they do, the consequence for that is what we will do. Okay. So if I'm outside, somebody hits me, I'm either going to call the police, I'm going to run away, I'm going to leave the room, whatever it might be. So the consequence is what I will do if somebody crosses that boundary. Okay. And then the third very important piece of this is you have to follow through. Because if you're putting up boundaries left and right, people are going to cross them. They cross your boundary, and then you get mad and resentful at the person. And you're not following through. So here's the thing. Other people are allowed to say and do and behave in any way that they choose. People are allowed to hit you. I mean, it's against the law, but they have agency over themselves where they could walk up to you and hit you, right? And that's kind of an extreme example, but we have boundaries for us, right? That means we get to decide how we want to think, how we want to feel, and what we want to do. So let's use an example of say your partner's drinking and you don't want to be around them when they drank a certain amount or when they're drinking or whatever. Your boundary is, if you drink, I will leave with love for me and with love for you. Not out of resentment, not out of a fuck you, I'm leaving, out of a this is what I'm doing for me. I choose to follow through on my boundary, right? So you have to follow through. So if you're around a particular person and you don't care to be around them when they're drinking, and you can tell them, and it's not a bad idea just to tell them and say, hey, listen, love you, I want to hang out with you, but if we're together, you don't tell them what they can or can't do. You say, if you choose to drink X amount or whatever, I'm going to leave, right? You don't have to do it out of resentment or anger for the other person, right? So let's see. here's another example. Some people get mixed up. Like, we have manuals for other people, right? That's a whole nother concept where we have manuals that are very thick of how we expect other people to behave, right? People should do this, people shouldn't do that. Partners should say these things, partners should take out the trash or do the things, or friends should be on time, friends should call me when I'm sad. We have all these manuals for other people, and we also have manuals for ourselves, right? Sometimes they serve us, sometimes they don't. My manual is I choose love first before I react to anything. Um, but then sometimes we have manuals where, well, we should be doing this. We should be doing more in our business. We should be cleaner. We should be more on time. We should keep our calendar better. We should have more clients. We have these manuals of things we should and shouldn't be that don't serve us, right? So here's another example of a manual mixed with a boundary. So you have a partner, and your manual for your partner is, I expect them to take out the trash, right? It's an expectation. It's a request. You don't have to hang your emotional life on it. If they don't take out the trash, what happens is we make it mean they don't love us, they don't care for us, they don't respect us. Maybe they just don't want to take out the trash. We don't want to take out the trash either, right? So a manual is, this person should do this thing, right? A boundary is when someone invades your personal or your physical space, right? If somebody's yelling at me, I have a boundary that I'm not going to tolerate it. If I'm in a situation where there's escalated voices and it's angry and I'm going to leave. I'm not going to yell at them that you should not be saying that. You should not be doing that. I'm going to decide that I'm going to leave the situation and follow through. So if someone's not taking out the trash because you request it, it's not violating your personal or your physical space. It's an expectation you have of them, and you can take all the emotion out of it. You don't have to make it mean that they don't love you. You can certainly have a conversation with them and say, hey, listen, I do this and that, and let's set some expectations for how we're going to behave in this house, but not in a way that you're going to make it mean they don't love you or that they're violating some boundary, right? So there's 3 different ways to set a boundary. There's people with absolutely no boundaries. That was me. Total people pleaser. I can't get this cord proper. It's in my way. It's not following my manual that it should be back here. So there's people with no boundaries, like zero. Like, you ask me to do something, I'm going to jump and do it. Like you let people just say whatever they want to you. And of course they're going to say whatever they want, but you don't do anything about it, right? And that is what builds up resentment and anger and that whole victim mentality, right? It's because we don't have any boundaries. And what that also means is it's kind of lying, right? People pleasers, another word for that is like lying. We're not authentic. We're not authentically showing up for someone. If someone asks us to do something and inside we're like, oh, I don't want to do that. I wish they wouldn't ask me. You don't want them to ask you because you're afraid to say no. So then they ask you, and then you feel resentment towards them. Instead of saying, oh, wow, what a lovely, thank you so much for asking me that. But no, I love you, and no, that's not going to fit in my schedule. Sometimes boundaries and sometimes love sounds like no, right? So that's one kind of boundary, is like no boundaries. People just walk all over you. They can call you anytime and you'll do whatever. The other kind of boundary is like an isolating boundary. That's kind of what I was talking about, like the fuck you kind of boundary. Like, I'm not going to let anyone in because I'm not going to let them hurt me, and then we're trying to control other people. And so we don't want to let them in because we're afraid that they're going to hurt us or in some way, right? Thing is, we hurt ourselves with our thoughts. That's what we've been talking about in this group for a long time. So that's the second type of boundary that you could have. It's very isolating. You don't want to let anyone in. And the third kind of boundary is where the magic happens, right? It's just a nice little happy place where you think, I'm going to set boundaries out of love for me, and I can still love the other person, and they get to do whatever they want. Isn't that so nice of us? We allow other people to do what they want. And so we have love for them, we have love for us, but we're going to be true to us, and we are going to set consequences, and we are going to follow through on those consequences. So often people say, well, I set a boundary and they didn't comply. It's like, well, the boundary is for us, right? Our boundary is for us to comply with, not for somebody else. You can tell them, you can say, hey, listen, if you say those words to me, if you talk to me in that way, if you call me names, I'm not going to participate in this relationship anymore. And because I love me, and even though I love you, I love me more, and I will leave the room, or I'll walk out, or maybe you'll end the relationship, whatever it might be, right? But you have to follow through. You have to know what your boundaries are. Some of them, again, are very, like we don't even think about it. Like, we're in public, if someone hits us, that's a boundary. But other things, boundaries, again, it could just look like saying yes to things you don't want to say yes to. That's not having a boundary. Even if it's a perfectly lovely event, a charity thing that someone asks you to volunteer for. You're like, oh, I don't really have the time, but I don't want to say no, so I'll say yes because I don't have boundaries. But then I'm going to be resentful, and I'm going to be angry at the other person. I'm going to feel like a victim, and I'm going to complain about it. Right? It's because we don't have proper boundaries. It doesn't have to be a dirty word. So those are my kind of the three main types of boundaries that we can put up or not put up in the case of people pleasing with no boundaries. It's kind of like you can ask yourself, a boundary is how I will act in certain situations, right? So if X happens, then I will do X, right? So think of that when you're setting boundaries. So that's what I have for you today. And just thought I'd jump in here and talk a little bit about that. And I think a lot of us fall into the outside categories, right? We're people pleasers. We want people to like us. It's very manipulative, right? We do things because we want people to like us, because we want to manipulate their feelings. But the thing is, as we know, we can't control other people's feelings. They control their feelings with their thoughts. I'm going to bring you back to that, which means our thoughts control our feelings. So other people cannot make us feel bad if we say no, right? Other people cannot hurt our feelings. We hurt our own feelings when we have a thought about what they said or did, right? So like the case of the garbage not being taken out. You ask your partner to do it. They don't do it. We make it mean. They don't love us, or they're lazy, or whatever it is, we make it mean. And we could definitely, so we hurt our own feelings by the thoughts we're thinking, right? By what we make it mean. We could just make it mean, I hear you. I don't want to take out the garbage either. I'd appreciate it if you did. You can set expectations. Not even expectations. Expectations are more for like people, if you manage people, you own a business, you have expectations of your employees, you have expectations of your children, right? But so if your kid you told them to take out the garbage and they didn't take it out, you don't hang your emotional hat on it. You don't make it mean they don't love you. They're a teenager who doesn't feel like taking out the garbage. You don't have to yell and scream at them. You don't have to feel resentful. You can say, hey, listen, here's the thing. You take out the garbage, right? If you don't, then there will be consequences. You don't have to freak out about the consequences. You can say, oh, look, I asked you to take out the garbage and you didn't. Now guess what? I'm going to take the game controller. I don't know. However you discipline your kids, right? But in a loving way. Be like, I love you. In this house, your job on Tuesdays is to take the trash out. So, all right, give that to me, honey. Thanks. Love you. You can come from that way, or you can yell and scream at your kids. You get to choose, right? We all have agency. We get to choose how we want to show up. But is that how you want to show up? I'm guessing no. Right? Anyway, that's my little chat on boundaries. So, hope you can catch this later. Thanks for watching. I don't know if it's kind of slow, so I can't tell if anyone's watching, but have an amazing night. Send me a message if you have any questions on boundaries or manuals for other people or how that goes. Be happy to talk to you about it. And I will see you next Wednesday at 4. And I'll be posting some more things in here. Maybe we'll do some polls on what's coming up for everyone. And just keep moving forward. All right. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.